Welcome to the Homebred Homestead. I've been making rich organic compost on this property for over a decade now, and today I'm starting up a new operation, and I thought I'd bring you along if you want to see how to get it started and then what it can turn into later on, and I will show you that in another video. If you're new here, I'm Chuck. It's good to have you here on the channel. If you're not new, welcome back. Good to see you again. About a week and a half ago, this pen was about 1.5 feet tall with mustard greens planted here, radishes planted here, and then purple top turnips over here on this side. Then I turned the chickens and ducks loose in here to kind of get them used to feeding themselves rather than just going straight for me to throw out some feed to them, some lay and mash and scratch feed and such as that. As you can see, they have learned to fend for themselves. It looks like they like the turnips the best out of all those three things. Also, you'll see, let me get around here. This right here is lamb's quarters, or kind of got a nickname of wild spinach, and this stuff is very good. It cooks very fast. I done a video on it a while back. So one thing I've done to kind of save some of the greens from all being destroyed is I took these little $1.25 tree baskets and I laid over some of these greens right here just to kind of preserve them a little bit. Now I can move those over, throw that over there, let those greens grow back some. And then they'll have access to all of this. I'll catch some of that in there, make it kind of a half and half deal. And they may not come back nearly as strong as what they were, but I do feel like they'll come back some. So I'll move these over, give them access to that. I've got this set up for the exact same idea, the same purpose. I have no idea what this is. In my line of work, people throw stuff away. I haul it to the landfill, and if I see anything that I can use here on the homestead, I throw it in the back of the truck and it comes home with me. I had no idea what I would use it for, but as you can see, they're already in there checking out what I just uncovered from it. And I'll just move this over and I'll let stuff grow up under it for them to come to later on. Now they can't get down to the roots of it and kill it like they've done all out in here. All of this was just plush with greens. Now all of these deep green lamb's quarters that you see that have came up on the sides of where I cultivated and planted by greens, the lamb's quarters had already came up on their own. They were not planted in there. They were not seeds. I didn't throw seeds in there. That's a nice tomato. This tomato right here was planted in my chicken compost. I added a little bit of worm castings and a little bit of rabbit manure under the plant. I did the same thing over here in the soil, and look at the difference in that plant and that plant. Now mind you, I've been building the soil in this greenhouse for several years. but it just does not compare. This right here is mostly worm castings in this container, a little experiment I'm doing. This one is my chicken compost. This one is my chicken compost. Everything else in here is my chicken compost, including those two huge zucchinis over there and the squash. The heat here in South Georgia is real rough on the plants later on in the year. So one of my reasons for leaving these lamb's quarters in here is I'm gonna let some of them grow up and give these plants a little bit of shade from the sun just to help them survive and hopefully thrive. And this is the best part of the plant to eat right here, these little tops. You can break it off about right there, and every bit of this stem and everything will turn just as tender as it can be in about 3 to 5 minutes in a pot. So I'll be taking some of that off, and some of these I'll let get taller to block the sun just in areas to give the plants a little break throughout the day at different times. Also, it'll be used for chop and drop for the chickens. Look at the eggs that my ducks has laid over here. I don't have any sitting on them yet, but I do have some chickens sitting on some duck eggs in another pen. I hope they're gonna make me some little ducklings. I had to get rid of my roosters because I just wanted to keep my sanity. But I had a rooster in this pen and a rooster in a pen back over yonder way. They couldn't really see each other, so they had to both let each other know that they were the boss. And when one crowed, the other one crowed, and the other one had to outcrow that one. It was back and forth, and Lord have mercy. So I am rooster free, and I don't regret it at this point. When I get ready to make some more biddies, I gave some of the roosters away, and I can go get one, bring him back, let them make some biddies, and then I can be back in business again, and then that rooster can go right back over yonder where it came from. I don't miss him. I don't miss none of them. Now I have a deep litter pen that I'm going to show you in another video, and that's where the compost came from that's in all of my half barrels that's growing all these good looking vegetables. And those chickens have been making a living for themselves for years. I do give them scratch grain and a little laying mash, but there have been times in this process that I was just putting so much into it, even just brown carbon, or even just mainly brown carbon. I just had so much of it in there, it attracted so much life that the chickens would just scratch around in there and eat, and they'd hardly even touch the feed for a while there. I didn't even feed them just to see if they'd keep making eggs, and it turned out I didn't even have to feed them. They were getting all the protein and all the nutrients they needed just from the compost itself. And I wasn't having to do anything except for throw some leaves in, throw lawn clippings in, weeds out of the garden and stuff like that. And we also throw scraps in there to them. All of our table scraps go to a chicken pen. So my reason for trying to get these chickens started in on this with these greens to eat and learning to provide for themselves, is because I want to teach them to compost also. So I wanted them used to not just be waiting for a handout. What I'm going to do now traditionally I have planted in the ground in this pen. I have done some in containers, and I have done both at the same time. But what I've got planned right now is to start a composting system in here and get back to making this whole area right here a deep litter and not plant directly into it right now. Now, in order to teach these chickens to learn to start making compost for me, I've took this old tire here and I've started putting some of these lamb's quarters, some grass clippings, some weeds, and a few other things, and just throw it in this tire right here. And I've been stacking it in a pile, and then they'll come along and scratch it down to start with. They get bored with that. So I started adding scratch grain and sometimes laying mash into this just to get them used to eating right here. So when they're getting tired of greens over there, they're just automatically coming over here to look for something a little different. You go ahead. Don't mind me. So at the bottom of this, I put a little bit of weeds, just enough to have some carbon. And then I would take pardon me, and I'd scratch up some of this manure, and it's got a little bit of carbon mixed in with it too. And I threw this on the bottom of this pile, and I started stacking in the grass clippings and everything. They've scratched it all out like they're supposed to do. See, that just pulled that whole plant up. I'll throw that in there. So I'll take that, throw it in there like so. Y'all see this foolishness right here? This is what you got to contend with when you got a wife that picks the chickens up. But anyway, you're going to have to hop down before you scratch me up, Bear Skeet. I want to get you a bite while you're in there. All right. So, I'll add some scratch grain in. They'll all jump all over it. And then I'll grab some more, pile it in there with it. Like so. You know you can't do crap with one hand, but that's the price we pay. You'll see right there, there's some old Ziploc in there. Old Ziploc bag. You're gonna find trash in your compost. Ain't no big deal. We can pull it right out of there. It'll make its way to the top every time. It's amazing how much this stuff's already broken down. It was this deep and falling off the sides of the tire down here, just mounded up around it.
Yahweh is the King of all kings, the Lord of all lords, creator of all things. Yahweh is the Lord of all lords, his mercy and love will endure forevermore. Yahweh, pulled me from the miry clay, brought me from the house of bondage. All my sins he washed away. Yahweh sent his son to earth to Yahweh, Yahweh, praise Yahweh. Yahweh, Yahweh, praise Yahweh.
Now I'm going to start adding some fresh wood chips into the mix. They're going to scratch it out of there to get to the other stuff. And then I'll scoop it back up in there. Now, starting with this area around through that end of the pen there, where they've got it ate down and beat down the most, I'm going to start slowly adding fresh wood chips, and I've got access also to some wood chips that have been sitting for about 2 years, and I'll add that also into this pile. There's going to be a pile again, and it'll all incorporate together. And then I want to build this whole one area out right here into a deep litter, and as things progress, the more they eat this down, I'll spread that deep litter down that way and hopefully make this whole pen deep litter. Now the tire is not going to stay there forever. It's there mainly for me to be able to bring them back to this exact spot, and when they scratch it out like they're doing right there, that'll give me somewhere to dump the scraps in. They won't spread it all over the pen. A lot of it'll stay right here, and that'll be attracting some bugs and stuff over here to keep them interested in this area itself. Thanks to these ladies right here, the zucchini, squash, and cucumbers that I planted a couple of weeks ago, from seed, mind you, look like this right here. That is largely due to the absolutely wonderful soil fertility that I got from the work that the chickens have put in. In my next video, I'll take you over and show you my original deep litter compost chicken pen. And meanwhile, I appreciate you coming along and letting me show you the beginning of what's to be a big compost operation, I hope, for a small scale, if that makes any sense to you. I hear you, big dog. If you like this video and you want to see how I made my other deep litter compost chicken pen, how I set it up, then you can check it out right here, or wherever they put it. You know what buttons to hit. I ain't got to tell you. You grown.